Hello everybody, this is Carl Leopson, your instructor for SERP 590, and this is the weekly overview for week 5 in the course. Week 5, can you believe it? At the end of this week, we'll be 1/3 the way through this course, just rolling along. Everybody's doing really well. This week is about recording data in single case research. Most of you are BCBAs or in that field, and so you probably have a lot of experience in recording data on human behavior. In this case, for us, that's the dependent variable. But in single case design, we need to collect data on a number of things. And this is where a lot of the complexity in single case design starts to come in. So we will first take a look at dependent variables, but we also have to collect information on the independent variable. It's also called treatment integrity. And we want to show in our study that we actually implemented the intervention that we say we're going to do. And the third thing that we really need to collect data on is social validity. Applied behavior analysis is supposed to have social benefit, and in our study, we want to collect data to show that we've implemented an intervention that has some social benefit. So, dependent variable, independent variable, social validity. We'll talk about all three of those this week, and I will introduce you to the real complexity in collecting data across a single subject study. So the learning objective this week is to describe appropriate recording methods to collect data on a dependent and independent variable for a specific research question. This is also the first week where your research question comes into play, because the post will be about your research question. You're going to be telling me how you would collect data on the dependent variable and independent variable in your research question. So let me show you through what we're supposed to accomplish this week. So the first thing I'd suggest you do is watch the two videos. Okay, so there is a video called SERP 590 Study Example Data Collection, and it's about a 10-minute video where I pose kind of a ridiculous research question, but one that's easy to understand, and show you how data would be collected in a single subject study on a Excel sheet, and how it would be graphed and how all of that plays out and turns into those graphs that you see in single subject research designs. All right. The second thing you should watch is a longer video. It's about a 20-minute video. It's about single case research design data collection. And it's a video I created a little while ago. And it shows more in detail when you would collect the data and all the little bits of complexity that go into making sure that you get data collected during a study. The thing is about doing a proposal for a study is that you have to start thinking in practical terms. If you're sitting out there in the world trying to get this data, this social validity data, this data on the dependent variable, the data on the independent variable, exactly how are you going to do it? How are you going to collect it? How often? How are you going to summarize it? How are you going to put it into an Excel sheet? And how are you going to get it into a graph? And I go through all of those elements for you in that video. So after you watch those two videos, you'll have a pretty good idea of what's going on, I think. And that will help you understand the Ledford and Gass text. And I don't ask you to read a lot in Ledford and Gass, um, about 16 pages in chapter 5 and about 8 or 9 pages in chapter 6. In chapter 5, pay particular attention to table 5.3 and figure 5.3. They're really good with relation to understanding selecting data collection techniques. After you have watched the 2 videos and read the short parts of chapters 5 and 6 in your text, then I'd ask you to create your discussion post. And what you do in the discussion post is just you start with your research question, post it up there so I can read it again because I'm not going to remember everybody's. And then tell me how you would collect data on the dependent and independent variable. And let me go through. I provide you with some examples. So let's take a look at that real quick. I'm going to walk through these examples for you. So these are research questions that I made up, but they reflect some research questions that are similar to things that you folks are doing. So in example 1, does peer coaching increase positive comments by paraprofessionals? You would write that in your discussion post. And then you might say for dependent variable, I think I could collect data on the dependent variable, which is positive comments by parapros, using a simple frequency count or maybe rate recording if time of observations was different. All right. For the independent variable, for the intervention, which is peer coaching, I think I could simply document the initial coaching session and then document that the coaching check-in took place between the teacher and their paraprofessional. That would mean that every session that you would go in, you would have a place on your data collection sheet before you collect the data on the independent variable to say, peer coaching took place, or no, peer coaching did not take place during this session because it's a baseline. Right? Example 2, does a relaxation routine increase academic engagement in a child with social anxiety? In this case, academic engagement is a non-uniform behavior, and that is going to be something that you're going to need to look at and pay attention to in Ledford and Gass text, and you may already do that because uniform behaviors and non-uniform behaviors, we select different kinds of measurement systems. I think I could measure it using momentary time sampling. In a 30-minute observation, I would have 1-minute blocks of time. I would look up at the end of each minute and record whether the student is academically engaged, and I would summarize that as a percentage of blocks of time engaged. Simple. You probably already do recording like this. For the independent variable in example 2, the intervention here is a relaxation routine. I would measure whether the relaxation routine is being used by providing the child during intervention conditions with a checklist for self-recording. I would summarize the data as a simple occurrence or non-occurrence. And finally, example 3, does providing a daily schedule decrease transition time for a young child with autism? The dependent variable is transition time, and I'm interested in seeing if the total time spent in transition decreases across the morning activities. I would simply time each transition during the day, add them up, and then summarize it as the minutes in transition. And then for the independent variable, the intervention is a daily schedule. To prove it's being used, I could ask the teacher about it before each time each transition, and that they make a note of whether or not they reminded the child of the daily schedule. I could summarize this for the graph as a simple occurrence or non-occurrence. Everything's got to be summarized in a way that you could plot it on a graph. Right? That is what we're doing this week. It's a little more complex than some of what we've done in previous weeks, and that also represents some of the complexity that we'll be getting into moving forward. Although I think you'll do just fine. I think you'll find that it's going to help you to have your own research question that you can reflect back on all the time. And it will also help to have your own research question because it will allow you to do some critical thinking about these elements on something that is hopefully more important to you throughout the length of the course. As always, if you have questions about this week, immediately or as you go along, don't hesitate to reach out to me with an email and ask me about your question. Okay? Everybody take care, and I will be checking on your posts during the week. See you later.